Welcome to the Numbers Game. I'm Cynthia Frelund, and Week 8 is here. We've got no buys this week, which means we have 15 more NFL games to break down based on the key contextual stats driving the forecasted scores and player projections. As always, thank you for coming to hang out. It means a lot to me that you're choosing to spend some of your time and energy with me. Last week, my model went 11 of 15 straight up, 9 of 15 against the spread, and 8 of 15 on totals, bringing my season stats to 64.5% straight up, 51.9% against the spread, and 51.4% on totals. Let's start week 8 by eating our veggies. 4 games in the early window feature teams who are at least 6-point favorites. To be fair, I love veggies. I also love the Lions since birth, which hasn't always been an easy thing in my life, kind of like my relationship with vegetables. On all fronts, we are good now, and that's where we'll start. This week, the Lions are 11.5-point home favorites hosting the Titans, who they basically only see every 4 years. Taking the Titans side first, Tony Pollard has been contacted behind the line of scrimmage at the second highest rate in the league, about 56%. But guess who has the highest yard after contact per carry average? Is Tony Pollard. Matchup-wise, this is a tougher one for Pollard, as the Lions defense has just 22 missed tackles. That is tied for the fewest in the league, and they allow the second fewest yards after contact per carry at 2.5. The lowdown on the Lions is about Jared Goff and play action. He's used it on 35% of dropbacks. That's the highest rate in the league. And what happens when he does? Well, he has the highest EPA, expected points added, along with the 5th highest completion percentage over expected, earning 708 yards off such completions. This one could be a tougher play action outing, though, because the Titans defense has held opposing passers to league lows in these same metrics. Bottom line, even though we don't talk enough about how Harold Landry is bringing the heat, 18 pressures, 4 sacks, and a 40% team sack share, that's second most in the NFL, the Lions' O-line and passing strategies, along with the run game being so effective, has helped Jared Goff earn a perfect passer rating under pressure for 3 consecutive games. That is wild. I'm also told chance of his name break out at Tigers, Pistons, MSU, U of M, and the directional college games, which makes me love my home state even more. Detroit wins 28-18, and this ranks number 2 in confidence. The Ravens and Browns are in the opposite situation in terms of familiarity, facing off twice a season, and often these AFC North matchups are closer and more exciting than maybe we originally think. The Ravens lead the all-time series 36-14, but the teams have split their season series in each of the past 3 seasons. This time, Baltimore is an 8.5-point favorite in Cleveland. Baltimore's biggest difference in this installment of Ravens-Browns is Derrick Henry, who has the most rushing yards over expected at the position with 363, and the second most first downs over expected. He's got 8 of those. He also has a career-high 2.8 rushing yards over expected per carry this season, and he's been contacted behind the line of scrimmage at his lowest rate since 2016. It's about 37%. The change for Cleveland is Jameis Winston, who took over late in Week 7. He threw past the sticks on 8 of 11 attempts, which is good for the highest rate, so 73%, for any quarterback who has attempted at least 10 such throws in a game this season. This is an area that play caller Ken Dorsey could look to for success, as the Ravens defense has allowed the 4th highest success rate and the 2nd most EPA on these types of passes. Bottom line, even though the Browns defense has shut down play-action passes well, allowing the 2nd lowest completion percentage over expected, they haven't faced Lamar Jackson play action this season yet. He's fully in MVP form and has been converting on such passes at the 2nd highest rate in the league. Baltimore wins 26-19, and this ranks 7th in confidence. Another AFC divisional game in this early window with a lopsided line is in the East, where the Jets head to Foxborough for a date with the Pats and are 7-point road favorites. New York's note this week is about Davante Adams in his gangrene debut. He played 53 of 55 snaps, that's over 96%. He aligned in the slot on 51%, that is his highest rate since 2016. He had 20 routes, 5 targets, and caught 2 for 20 yards from the slot. He had 19 routes, 4 targets, and caught 1 for 4 yards from out wide. What does this all mean? Well, it means we will likely see a lot of success from Adams, primarily in the slot suit, like in this game. New England's nugget is about hope and the future, aka Drake May. May is the first rookie quarterback since 1950 with 500 plus passing yards, 5 plus passing touchdowns, and 50 plus rushing yards in his first 2 career starts. And by the way, 5 passing touchdowns is the same number as Bo Nix, who started 7 games. Bottom line, Jets win by 8, 25-17, and this ranks 4th of the 16 games in confidence. Let's head to Houston for one more AFC divisional matchup, this time between the Colts and Texans, where CJ Stroud and company are 6-point favorites against Anthony Richardson and crew. Indy's information is that even though Richardson missed most of week 4 and all of weeks 5 and 6, he still has 123 rushing yards off scrambles, with 44 of them being rushing yards over expected. He ranks number 2 in EPA per scramble at 0.98. This could be a nice advantage for the Colts, as the Texans' defense has allowed 174 yards, including 62 of those being rushing yards over expected, which is the second most in the NFL, along with a touchdown to scrambling quarterbacks. Houston's quarterback is showing the hallmark traits of the make it or break it phase of quarterbacking. This is how the trend works, but very oversimplified. Step 1. Be really good. So be effective and efficient. You don't necessarily need to be the offensive rookie of the year, but be really good. Then step 2, defenses will adjust to defend you specifically, your skill set, what you do. Then for the good ones, optional step 3, they adapt and evolve. I think right now we're in the trough and we're about to see CJ Stroud step into that step 3, which, by the way, it's not just one chance to evolve. It's like continuously evolving and adapting, sometimes even over the course of a game. However, things would be a lot easier if his O-line would help him out maybe a little bit more. Here's an example from last week. The Packers only blitzed on 17.2% of dropbacks, but they got a 48.3 pressure rate on all dropbacks, meaning they were bringing the heat without even blitzing. Looking at last week and then mapping where improvements should come in this week and moving forward, let's start on third down. He was only 2 of 7 for 13 passing yards and a 39.6 passer rating, same as if you throw the ball into the dirt. Stroud versus man coverage last week, 3 of 8, 15 passing yards, 45.8 passer rating. Not great. Last 2 weeks, he set new season lows in consecutive weeks for passing yards. So I think all of that will feature the good regression, meaning go up. The bottom line here is that Joe Mixon is a difference maker. Well, the run game. Maybe they're one and the same. Basically, they are. Joe Mixon has averaged 121 scrimmage yards per game in his 4 games this season. That is third most in the NFL. And overall, the Texans have averaged 167 rushing yards per game since week 8. That is 8th in the NFL. And the Colts defense, well, they rank second worst against the run. Houston wins 26-19, and this ranks 9th in confidence. Let's make a new list this week. Are you ready? It's called Getting Defensive. Why? Because I don't know where to add in great defensive coverage stats, especially this week with lots of lopsided games. And defensive back play overall is maybe my favorite thing to track. And it feels a little like they're the unsung heroes because you don't really target the best defensive back. So here we go. Here's a list of 4 notes about teammates this week because that is extra fun. Number 1. Detroit's Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph are 2 of 4 players in the entire league with 4+ interceptions in 2024. No other pair of teammates even have 3. Note number 2, Seattle's Devin Witherspoon has allowed just 0.2 yards per snap in man coverage. That's the lowest among all corners. His teammate Reek Woolen, even though he's missed the last 2 games with an ankle injury, he's allowed a 16.3 passer rating. That is the lowest among all corners with at least 10 targets. Note number 3, Buffalo's Christian Benford has played the 3rd most snaps in coverage among all corners, but allowed just 0.5 yards per snap. That's the lowest at the position. That's crazy. And his teammate Rasul Douglas ranks 6th in this metric at 0.7 yards per snap allowed. Note number 4, Green Bay's Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney both rank top 5 in coverage success among safeties. McKinney has a league-high 5 interceptions this season, and Williams has the 4th highest tight window percentage, 35.7, among safeties with at least 10 targets this season. That brings us to Duval, where the Packers and a defense that played lights out last week, including blowing up my simulations against the Texans, come to town as 4.5-point favorites. My Packers point is about Jordan Love and the blitz. When he's not blitzed, he has the 3rd highest passer rating, 114.3, the most EPA, the highest yard per attempt average at 9.3, and the most passing touchdowns with 11. When he's blitzed, that passer rating goes to 30th, just 61.8. And he has 4 touchdowns only in this situation. He's been blitzed at the 3rd highest rate, 39%. So this kind of shows how the lots of touchdowns and lots of interception situation has unfolded. Good news in this one, though, the Jags have blitzed at the lowest rate in the league. Their average is 17.3. Their season high was just 31% so far. The strategy is likely to help out their secondary, so it is thus unlikely for them to have a huge uptick in blitzing in this one. My Jags justification is about Trevor Lawrence on deep passes. He has a 114.6 passer rating on these 20-plus air yard attempts. That is the second best in the NFL. He also leads the league in EPA on such passes. However, the Packers lead the league in interceptions on deep passes with 5. Bottom line here boils down to big plays. So rushes that go for more than 10 yards or passes for more than 15. Here's the story. The Jags defense has allowed 7.6 big plays per game this season. That's the most in the NFL. And the Packers offense has 8.4 big plays per game this season. That is second most in the NFL. Green Bay wins 26-22. This ranks 11th of 16 in confidence. Don't let this globe over my shoulder fool you. I don't really do geography, so I'm sorry if this is wrong, but I am decently sure that Tampa is closer than Miami to Jacksonville, so Falcons and Bucks is next. Their all-time series is tied at 31 apiece, and Atlanta is a 2.5-point road favorite in this one. The argument for Atlanta is that maybe they have finally unlocked the full Bijan Robinson puzzle. Please sit down for the following note. Bijan Robinson had his first career game with 100-plus rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown in Week 7 against Seattle. Let's go over that again because it's pretty mind-blowing. In Week 7 of 2024, Bijan Robinson had 21 carries, 103 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, along with 3 receptions for 40 yards. This is the first time in his career to exceed 100 on the ground, along with a rushing touchdown. The thing to know about Tampa this week is just how good Zion McCollum has been playing. I love that a former 5th rounder from 2022 is making this much noise. He's tied for the 3rd most passes defensed at 10, and computer vision shows that his lateral speed, reaction speed, running and turning his hips without losing speed rates are all in the top 8 at the position, which means great ball tracking skills. Bottom line, injuries shape this one big time. Baker Mayfield has a 101.7 passer rating when both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are on the field. He has an 88.4 passer rating when at least one of them is not on the field. And he has a 54.9 passer rating when neither are on the field since joining the Bucs in 2023. This just illustrates how valuable both of these pass catchers are in general and to this offense. Atlanta wins 23-20, and this ranks just 13 of 16 in confidence. Now to South Florida, where the Dolphins host the Cardinals, and Miami is a home field goal favorite. Arizona's argument is inspired by their very own signal caller. Kyler Murray said this week some version of, "You can't put a price tag on what JC means. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves." So you know what, Kyler? We're going to honor James Conner right here. Conner leads the Cardinals with 109 carries, 504 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. He had a season-high 152 scrimmage yards in Week 7 against a Chargers defense that had been really tough on all other running backs. By the way, that game made him the 5th player to have 100-plus rush yards and 50-plus receiving yards in a game this season. Miami's metric is 43.6, as in percent, as in they lead the league with a 43.6 pressure rate this season and have the quickest average time to pressure at 2.46 seconds. And when they rush 4 or fewer defenders, they rank 4th best at 38%. Rookie Chop Robinson has a 15.8% pressure rate that ranks 2nd among all rookies, and his name is probably my favorite one to say. Bottom line, the return of Tua means the Cardinals will have to wait to earn back-to-back wins, something they haven't done since 2021. Miami wins 25-21, and this ranks 12th of the 16 games in confidence. Closing out the early window of games is what I think could be a kind of randomly pivotal moment in each team's season, especially since it's a cross-conference matchup. Eagles at Bengals, where Cincinnati is a 2.5-point favorite. Philadelphia's point is one about the defense. The Eagles have a league-high 13 sacks over the last 2 weeks since their bye, after having just 6 total sacks from weeks 1 through 4. That was the 4th fewest in the league over those weeks. This season, Joe Burrow has been pressured at the 2nd lowest rate in the league. However, he's been sacked on 27% of his pressured dropbacks. That's the 3rd highest rate in the league. Simply put, he's not being pressured often, but when he does get pressured, it turns into a sack at a high rate. Cincinnati's comments are also about their defense. They've allowed just 6 completions for 241 yards on 25 deep targets this season, including 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. However, that 24% completion percentage, that's 6th lowest in the league in terms of what defenses have been allowing. A.J. Brown has hauled in 4 of 5 deep targets for 170 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has a league-high 15.5 yards per route run. I talked about inflection points to start this, and this is a good example of what I mean. Bottom line, the rushing potential of Jalen Hurts plus Saquon Barkley tips the scales ever so slightly in favor of the away team. Philly wins 24-23, even though the Bengals defense has missed just 10.1% of their tackles this season. That's the lowest missed tackle rate in the league. That's why confidence is only 15 of 16, or second lowest on the slate. I think this is a great spot for weekly wildcards, our list of 5 lesser expected touchdown scores. I'm talking about guys who aren't in the top few at their position in terms of touchdown scoring, and you probably didn't draft them in round 1 of your fantasy league. Guys who have elevated end zone reaching odds this week. We're kind of on a roll here, and some of you added some incredible nuggets last week, so please, by all means, add this week too. The format is just one sentence to justify your reasoning. Here are mine. Number 1, T. Higgins, who has 75 or more receiving yards in each of the last 3 weeks, along with 3 receiving touchdowns over that time period. Number 2, I'm going back to the well. Devontae Adams, who played 96% of offensive snaps. He already saw 9 targets. Okay, we get it. End zone time against the Pats already. Number 3, David Njoku, who not only had 14 targets and 10 receptions last week, but also caught a touchdown from new starter Jameis Winston. Number 4, Kenneth Walker, who will help keep some of the Bills' quick pressures off of Geno Smith. And number 5, Kareem Hunt. The Chiefs ran the ball inside the tackles 23 times last week against the Niners. That is the most since the next-gen stats were born in 2016. But you know Max Crosby is coming on strong in this one. And Hunt is well positioned to help his quarterback out, especially in the red zone. Which takes us to lovely Las Vegas, where the Chiefs may or may not be forgetting some weird preseason Kermit the Frog doll nonsense. Fun fact, I believe there are only 2 kinds of people in this world: people who love Vegas and big fat liars. The Chiefs are 10-point road favorites against the Raiders. Right now, I'm not sure if he'll be available for this game or not, but when the last remaining unbeaten team and also reigning Super Bowl champs acquire a player, we got to talk about the fit. Welcome to Kansas City, DeAndre Hopkins, who's one of 3 wide receivers that is a 3 or more time first-team All-Pro to never play in a conference championship game in their career. The other 2, Calvin Johnson and Sterling Sharp. I'm going to add the word yet to DeAndre Hopkins. The data flags Hopkins as a leader in perimeter play and on contested catches, like upper echelon. It also shows he's done this, even though he's had the highest percentage of off-target throws amongst his peer receivers who are also rated in these categories, meaning he's caught some wonky passes, but that changes in Kansas City. That changes with Patrick Mahomes. Right now, the Raiders have themselves a really special rookie. Brock Bowers has been targeted on over 30% of his routes this season. That's the 5th highest rate in the league overall, and the highest by any rookie tight end through the first 7 weeks of a season since 2018. He also became the first rookie ever at the position to have 8 or more catches in 3 straight games, and that happened last week. Bottom line, Kansas City wins 26-17, and this ranks number 3 as in 3rd highest in confidence. We've now knocked out confidence number 3. That's a Kansas City win. And number 2 was Detroit. So now, number 1, the highest confidence winner of the week in my model. Yes, I am spoiling my own grand finale, but it was too good of a segue. The Denver Broncos, who are 9-point home favorites hosting the Carolina Panthers. My Panthers point is about Chuba Hubbard, who has 119 rushing yards over expected. That's 5th most at the position. He also has 12 explosive runs. Those are 10-plus yarders. That's tied for 8th most. And the Panthers' offensive line has actually really helped him out. He's been hit behind the line of scrimmage at the 4th lowest rate. Denver's domain is defense, but I want to add a note on why you should play Bo Nix in fantasy this week. He scrambled on 10.4% of his dropbacks. That's the 5th highest rate, and he's generated positive 12.2 EPA on these scrambles. That's 8th most. The Panthers defense, well, they've allowed the 12th most EPA on scrambles on the ground, but also the 2nd most on passes, which means we could be poised to get yards from him on the ground and also maybe another multiple passing touchdown day like he had against the Chargers and Raiders. Bottom line here, the Broncos defense generated 14 quick pressures. Those are ones that happened in under 2.5 seconds in their Week 7 win over the Saints. That is tied for the most quick pressures by any defense in a game this season. And 9 different defenders registered at least 1 pressure. This is actually just a continuation of Weeks 1 through 6, though, where they paced the league with 51 quick pressures. Denver wins by 10, 27-17, and this, of course, ranks first in confidence, which I already spoiled in the intro to this game. Closing out the AFC West and NFC South, we have the Saints coming to where I work, facing the Chargers at SoFi Stadium, who are 7.5-point favorites. Until I hear differently, and because of this large number from Vegas, my assumptions and simulations reflect Spencer Rattler starting for the Saints, but I will update the numbers and scores if any of that changes, so check socials. However, I did check to see if the winner change should Derek Carr be playing, and it does not. The Saints situation is one of a lot of injuries. I want to point out just how important Rashid Shaheed has been to this offense, though. When he's been off the field this season, Saints quarterbacks have completed 0 of 5 deep attempts, compared to 6 of 22 with him on the field, including 3 touchdowns. Shaheed has 14 targets of 20-plus air yards this season. That is tied for the most in the NFL, and the rest of the Saints pass catchers have combined for 13 such targets. They did acquire MVS this week. However, I want to point out just how valuable Shaheed is and just how big of a loss this is. The Chargers' chances to get back into the win column are greatly influenced by the play of J.K. Dobbins, who's generated 96 rushing yards over expected, ranking number 6 among running backs. He's played almost 65% of offensive snaps this season for his team, but when he's been off the field, the Chargers have averaged just 3 yards per carry on designed rushes, compared to 4.8 with Dobbins on the field. Bottom line, the Saints defense has allowed the most rushing yards over expected on designed rushes since week 3 at 206 yards, after being the best in this metric in weeks 1 and 2. Chargers win 24-15, and this ranks 5th in confidence. Because I insisted on adding the getting defensive list, I'm going to sort of combine Streaker Freak, aka our Will the Streak Be Broken note, with Model Citizen, aka our history note, for this mini list break. And by the way, feel free to use these. Don't credit me. Just use them with your friends, your family, your enemies, anyone. It'll be really good notes for you to pass along. Number 1. Alvin Kamara needs just 1 receiving touchdown to become the 4th player in NFL history with 50-plus rushing TDs and 25-plus receiving. Who is he joining? Christian McCaffrey, Marshall Faulk, and Lenny Moore. Right now, he has 60 rushing touchdowns and 24 receiving. And number 2, including the playoffs, Josh Allen has thrown 286 consecutive passes without an interception. Not only is that the longest active streak in the NFL, it is also the longest in Bills history. When was his last interception? Week 18 of 2023 at Miami. However, Seattle had 3 takeaways last week versus Atlanta. The mini list is good, but 3 of these last 4 games are the best ones of the week. The first one is the one where we will see if Josh Allen continues his interception-free streak. The Bills at Seahawks, and Buffalo is a field goal road favorite. Buffalo's best bet is to continue to lean on quick throws, especially on early downs, where Allen has averaged his fastest time to throw in his career at 2.56 seconds. That's 4th in the league. By the way, that's just 1st and 2nd down. On all downs, Allen has the most EPA on quick passes and averages the 3rd most yards per attempt at 7.5. Matchup-wise, this also makes sense. The Seahawks have allowed the 5th most EPA per dropback on quick passes and the 6th highest success rate. The Seahawks side of things also hinges on the quick pass. Geno Smith has the 2nd most such attempts at 139. However, he has yet to throw a touchdown on one. The matchup here is also favorable, as the Bills have allowed 14 explosive plays. Remember, those are 15-plus yard receptions to quick passes, which is the 2nd most in the league. Bottom line here, I have a closer than expected win forecast for the Bills, 25-23. Let's start with the Bills side first. They've averaged the 2nd most yards per play using motion, 6.5, and the Seahawks defense, well, they rank 6th or 7th, so this is like not so great for them. 6th or 7th most generous to motion plays. However, if Seattle is to pull off the home upset or break the interception-free streak, maybe it's with pressure coming from non-blitzes. Josh Allen has completed just 43% of his passes when he's been pressured when they don't send 5 or more pass rushers since the beginning of last season, and that's the lowest rate among the 34 quarterbacks who've taken at least 50 attempts under pressure but not being blitzed. The Seahawks have an over 38% pressure percentage when not blitzing this season. That is the 3rd highest in the league. This drives my 14 out of 16 rating in confidence. I'm feeling pretty good about my preseason win total number for Seattle being more than 7.5. If you don't remember, that was my my most confident over in the NFC. They're already at 4, and even if they don't upset the Bills at home, I kind of still think we're in good shape here. Bills and Seahawks is a fun game, but the one I spent the most time on this week is Chicago at Washington. The Bears are 2.5-point road favorites. Another big assumption I'm working off of so far this week is that Jaden Daniels' ribs are really okay, and that he was actually held out of last week's game after being injured because the Commanders were up by like 37. That's what's been communicated, so that's what I've been modeling. Again, if it changes, you know where to find it. Chicago's rookie quarterback has averaged a 2.8 second time to throw this season, which is about mid. It ranks 13th. He throws the ball in under 2.5 seconds just 47% of the time. But when he does throw quickly, things go well. He's 75 of 93 for 550 yards and 4 touchdowns on quick passes. That is good for the 6th most EPA. Matchup-wise, this is also strong for Caleb Williams as the Commanders' defense has allowed the 2nd highest passer rating on quick passes. One more note here because this is such a great matchup. It seems that changing the pre-snap alignment of their quarterback has helped. In the first 3 weeks, Williams was under center on about 25% of snaps. Since then, it has gone up to nearly 38%. And even though most of those under center snaps have resulted in runs, like 80%, when they do pass, they have a 51% success rate. This is good news and also showing that Shane Waldron is accommodating what his quarterback needs. Washington's rookie has completed 14 of his 17 attempts outside the pocket this season for 226 yards, which is tied for the 2nd most in the whole league. And his over 82% completion percentage, well, it's tied for the highest, and it's the highest by a rookie since 2016. This matchup is harder, though, as the Bears have held opposing passers to a 37.5 passer rating on attempts outside the pocket this season. That is 3rd lowest. However, injuries, question marks to Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon do matter a lot here, as Jalen Johnson is an absolute stud, but I don't know if he's able to patrol the entire field alone. Bottom line, while Montez Sweat and the Bears defense has been exceptional, the Commanders defense is improving week over week. Some evidence of where they are good. Bobby Wagner has totaled 62 tackles and only missed 2. That is a 97% tackle efficiency rate, which is the highest in the league. And the Commanders as a whole have an 89% tackle efficiency rate this season. That is 5th highest in the whole league. Slight advantage to Jaden Daniels, who has the highest completion percentage in the NFL. Montez Sweat's revenge will have to wait. I don't even know if that's a thing for him, but whatever. 24-23 home team. However, this ranks 16 of 16 or the least confident on the week. Sunday Night Football is a good one too, with the 4.5-point favorite 49ers hosting the Cowboys, who are coming off their bye. Since we don't know exactly who will be available on the defense yet, Dallas's digits will just be about CeeDee Lamb, who's generated 119 yards after the catch over expected this season. That's 2nd most in the league, and only Jamar Chase had more, and Jamar Chase gets T. Higgins. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's been doing it as the only real threat from the wide receiving core on his team. He's also forced 9 missed tackles, which is tied for the 7th most at his position. San Francisco's statement is about rushing efficiency. Jordan Mason has forced 53 missed tackles this season. That's the most in the NFL, and the next closest player is 5 behind him. The Cowboys defense has missed a tackle on 16% of their opportunities this season. That's the highest rate in the league. Last year, they actually ranked best in this metric, which is a massive change year over year. Bottom line, after leading the NFL in yards after the catch per reception in each of the past 6 seasons, so since 2018, the 49ers are averaging the 2nd fewest in the league. But this is where it forecasts to turn around, as the Cowboys have allowed the most yards after the catch per reception this season at 7.2. Niners win 28-21, and the confidence ranking is 8 of 16, which is exactly mid in ranking, but that seems weird because it's a 7-point win. There are lots of vegetable games this week. Week 8 concludes with a matchup between 2 of the highest class football families of all time, as the Giants and Steelers square off at Acrisure. First of all, put seeing a game in Pittsburgh on your list because Renegade alone is worth the price of admission. Okay, the whole thing is cool. Back to math. One giant fact is that Dex, my guy, Dexter Lawrence, has been double teamed on 63% of pass rushes this season. That is the highest rate faced by any player since at least 2018. Despite all of this, he still leads the NFL in sacks with 9, and all 9 of them have come when he's lined up as an interior defensive lineman. That is the most for an interior rusher through 7 weeks since at least 2018. That's when we started tracking. I think, I wonder if Aaron Donald had any more before that. I'll have to get back to you on that. The scoop on the Steelers is a recap of Russell Wilson's debut, a win against the Jets last week. The stat line reads 264 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 109 passer rating, along with 1 rushing touchdown for the entire game. Amazing. That's the most passing yards, 264, by a player in their Steelers debut. That's a record that's been held since 1954. And by the way, 4 different Steelers scored a touchdown: Russell Wilson, Najee Harris, George Pickens, and Van Jefferson. That is the most players with a touchdown in a single game for Pittsburgh since 2021. Bottom line, Pittsburgh wins by 8, 24-16, and this ranks number 6 in confidence of the 16 games this week. We did it. We made it through all 15 remaining games on this week's slate. So now I'm hungry. We need to go to our menu of bland and spicy ingredients for you to make your own dish with the level of spice you want. Bland or chalky ingredients are those that occur in more than 55% of my overall simulations. Spicy refers to things that happen in only 48% of my simulation outcomes, but have variation levels that suggest that they are smart upside picks. I would say pairing 2 blands with a spicy makes for my favorite recipes. And I loved your recipes and notes from last week too, so keep them coming. As for the chalky blands, number 1, Jamar Chase to earn at least 76 receiving yards. He's slated for more than 90 in my model. He also leads the league in receiving yards over expected and yards after the catch over expected. He also has the second most receiving EPA. Like, you get it. He's really good. That's too low of a number. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes to throw an interception. I must hate myself because interceptions are fickle stats, but 2 Raider corners held Matthew Stafford to a sub 39.6 passer rating in coverage. For context, that is the same number a quarterback earns when they throw the ball into the dirt, aka dirt balls. Jacorian Bennett and Nate Hobbs, and also Nate Hobbs had a pick. And number 3, Aaron Rodgers to pass for at least 236 yards. Between Adams, Wilson, and Lazard alone, his total exceeds that number against the injured Pats. And now for the spicies. Number 1, CJ Stroud to not throw an interception. I love torturing myself apparently, as this is the second interception note this week, but Stroud has 13 passing touchdowns and no interceptions versus the AFC South in his career, and 6 touchdowns with no interceptions against Indy specifically. Spicy number 2 is a little bit of a Trojan horse. It's that Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to score a touchdown. I say Trojan horse because I like touchdown, but I prefer and feel stronger about the 5 receptions that I have forecast for him. I have 5 for 58, but I can't find the market anywhere. So what I want to tell you is that Jackson Smith-Njigba leads the Seahawks with 37 receptions. And by the way, he's quietly 10th in the NFL in catches. And I think his catch number could be around 3.5. So perhaps that's the spicier I would prefer. Do with that what you will. Spicy number 3, Terry McLaurin to score a touchdown. This is another one where I can't yet find where his market stands in terms of receptions or receiving yards. So here's my projection: 565 touchdown. Even if the Bears are at full speed in their secondary, this is a matter of Cliff Kingsbury finding space. However, if somehow it's not Jaden Daniels, forget I ever said anything about this though. I hope you caught the TNF episode because I asked 1 billion questions that I actually want feedback on. The most important one was about how to handle the trade deadline, as in, what would you like to see? Assuming that it's interesting, should we do an extra episode, bring in a guest? Let me know. The newsletter, it is in the works, along with some other cool stuff too. I'll see you back here for lots of Week 9 fun. All of my numbers are up for you to use as you wish as of Wednesday, October 23rd. Remember, they update daily with the injury report and news. Thank you so much for hanging out. I do read all the comments and appreciate the dialogue, so keep it coming because this is our show. And if you like it, please pass it along so our community can continue to grow.